Hello, Trucker Todd here, and time for another video. Ho, ho, ho! It's the most wonderful time of the year. No, I'm not talking about Christmas, even though I'm wearing a red shirt. I'm talking about it's the most wonderful time of the year for the IRS. Yes, that's right. Tax time is coming quickly, and normally it's due by April 15th, but because of all the COVID stuff, they have moved it out, and even in certain locations in the state, because of that winter storm and things, they've even stretched it out further. So while I'm not a tax advisor, and I'm no expert by far on taxes, I've had several people, and one real recently, asked me if I would cover how do I know how much to take out for taxes and things like that. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what I do and what I recommend you do, but anything I tell you, I would still suggest that you run it by your tax preparer and see what their thoughts are on it. And each individual person, their situation is going to be different, but we'll talk about that in this video. Sorry for the shine on my head. I got my hair cut, and while it looks like I'm bald, I'm really not. Watch some of the older videos and you'll see that I do have a full head of hair. All right, hang with me. Here we go.
And this is why I do this, why I'm out here, why I keep that hammer down. Flying by these road signs with home on my mind, with these wheels turning round. For my family and for my kids, for this life I wanna live. And this is why I do this.
Alrighty, I just want to remind everybody, make sure and give me a thumbs up. Share this video on your social media platforms. Speaking of social media platforms, my Instagram's there, my Facebook is there. Be sure and join me on those places. We put some additional content that's not always on the YouTube channel. And it's also a place where you can leave content. Send me pictures of cool stuff you see out on the road and things such as that. Also, while this video particularly is not about DART, if you have questions about going to work for them, I've got the recruiting number there. Just give them my driver number. Tell them you've been watching Trucker Todd. It helps me out, and it won't cost you anything, and I would really appreciate it. My driver number, 58180. Also, if you are ready to apply, you've heard enough of my videos, you're ready to apply, there's a link there. Click on that link and you can do an application directly. Also, my email's there if you'd like to ask me questions. Maybe you don't want to leave a comment below. Shoot me an email. I usually get back to you pretty quick and answer any questions that you might have. Alrighty, so we're going to talk about taxes today. And I'm going to start off by including you company drivers or people that are employees for a company. Now, here's what I recommend. And there's competing theories here. Some people say that you should have the employer take out a whole bunch so that you get a big refund at the end of the year. Some people say that you should have as little taken out as possible, even if you owe a couple of hundred at the end of the year, because they don't want the government holding their income all year. I recommend trying to come as close to break even as you can. You don't want them holding your money, and you don't want to be holding money you're going to owe them at the end of the year either. So the easiest way to do this, if you're married with 2 kids, file married in 1. If you're married with 1 kid, do married and 0. Do 1 step below what you're capable of qualifying for. That way they'll take out just a hair more and you're covered at the end of the year. You should get a small refund or be real close to the break-even point. If you're a newlywed couple, something like that, you might want to consider married but withhold at a higher single rate. And of course, if you're single, you're single. What can you do? And so there is, for you guys that want bigger returns, there is where you can put additional withdrawal amounts if you want to. Like I said, I try to get as close to break even as I can when I'm an employee. One last thing to you employees, when you're figuring how much you should have taken out of your taxes, don't forget other deductions that your company, let me adjust my camera a little, other deductions that your company may take out, such as insurance. Some places charge you for uniforms, you got to pay that out over time. 401ks, anything like that, so that you take home enough money you can still pay all your bills. So don't forget those things either when you're figuring your taxes. Also, remember, when you're an employee, a lot of companies take things out pre-tax, and in that case, when you do those optional deductions, sometimes your taxes are affected and not as much as withdrawn as well. So be aware of those things. You truck drivers, if your company does any kind of per diem or things like that, take those things into consideration as well. As I said, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this, so discuss these things with your tax preparer. Always, if you're a truck driver, company or owner operator or lease purchase or anything, get a tax person that knows about trucking. Don't go to these big name tax preparers. They don't know the deductions, the per diems, things like that. They don't know your taxes for trucking. So get a professional that knows. Don't get Uncle Joe to do it in his garage on Saturday afternoon just so you can save a few bucks. Trucking is a different beast. Now, if you work a regular job in a factory or something, those places will be great and they shouldn't have any problems doing your taxes. All right, now let's talk about you owner operators and you lease purchase guys. Doing your first taxes is difficult for all the reasons I mentioned before, with a few more. You've still got to consider how many kids you got, how many dependents you got, all that stuff. But now on top of that, you've got to consider things like truck payment, how much you spend on fuel, things like that in the mix, because those are deductible. How many days away from home you are, your hotels, your maintenance repairs. There's a lot that goes into the cookie mix. So when you're doing this, the first quarter is always going to be the most difficult. I recommend the first quarter, put about 20% of your take home in a savings account. Don't touch it. Then after that, your tax preparer is going to start sending you quarterly estimates. And it'll take you, a few quarters to tweak it. But say you're putting $150 a week in savings for taxes. That's 20% or whatever of your income. I'm just trying to use round numbers here. If you get to the end of the 90 days and you pay your quarterly estimate and you've got money left over, then you might be able to tweak it a little bit. Or if you know the company that you're working for certain times a year gets busy and your income's going to go up during that time, maybe you want to increase it for a quarter or something. And what's going to happen is over time you're going to see a pattern and you're going to be able to determine how much you need to put aside for taxes. As I said, the first quarter when you're getting started is always the hardest. And maybe your first quarter, if you have a little left over, you just want to leave it in that savings account, because as you get better, your income's going to go up. And so you want to make sure that you're setting aside for taxes. Do not spend every penny that you get on your settlements. If you do, you're just begging for trouble the first time you break down or when it comes time to pay those taxes. Now, there's competing theories on quarterly taxes too. I used to work for a company that had an in-house accounting service. I'm not going to say the company. It was many years ago. I don't know if they still use them. They recommended not paying your quarterly taxes. They said that at the end of the year, you'll pay a small penalty, but it's less than what the accounting charges were to do quarterly taxes. Now, I know guys that do that. To me, that's horrible advice. Pay your quarterly taxes. It's a good way to check the temperature of your business and see where you're at. And then at the end of the year, you've got the potential to possibly get a refund, or at the very minimum, not owe $7,000 or $8,000 that you can't pay. So that's just my advice. Like I said, I was nervous to do a video like this because there's a lot of competing theories on what you should do and how you should do it. And another thing you've got to consider is if you live in a state with a state income tax, you might want to put a little extra in that savings account. I know Indiana has a 3% state income tax. So you've got to kind of account for that too. And again, when you're talking to your accountant, especially if you've got one that's familiar with trucking, they can give you estimates of what peers that are doing similar to what you are paying, so that you can kind of prepare. Just ask them, say, what's the average person doing what I'm doing paying in quarterly taxes? And they should be able to give you a ballpark idea. Each business is different. I don't know how to stress that enough. Flatbed's going to be different from reefer or tanker or dry van or specialized. So that's why it's real important to get with an accountant on these things. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, folks. This is a quick video. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm getting ready to head back to Lubbock. I've got to work Monday morning, heading to Mississippi. So we'll catch you Monday on the next video. We're going to talk about my trainer, a guy I haven't seen since 1996. My wife found him on Facebook after all these years. He and I reconnected, and I'm going to tell you how it went. And I'll just let you know it didn't go the way I thought it would. So you guys hang in there, and we'll see you on Monday. All right, take care. Bye-bye.